Okay, example number 5, y equals tangent x minus pi over 2. So, first thing, just like before, the first thing we're going to do is find the period length. So if it's a tangent graph, we're going to start off with our basic period length, which is pi. Okay, and we would multiply by anything in front of our x. Since there's nothing there, my period length is just pi. Okay, once I've made my period length, I decided on my period length, I'm going to make my little scale table down below. So asymptote line, the middle point, and then asymptote line again. So again, I do this just to help me understand what's going on. So if the period length is pi, that means from one asymptote line to the other, it is pi units across. If I'm going from, the center to the side, so if I'm going from here to the side, it's going to be half of pi, so now it is pi over 2. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is talk about scale. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph any vertical shifts. Okay, so I would look here on the end, see if there's a vertical shift. There's not. So I'm going to do the third thing. The third thing on our checklist is graph our first point. So when we say that, we think about, okay, what's going to happen at the center of my graph? So right here in the center of my graph, right here on this middle line, what's going to happen? One of two things. It's either going to be a point or an asymptote. Okay, so to me, I look here, it's a tangent graph. So tangent graphs, normally I would start with a point right here in the middle. So normally I would have a point right here. Whoa, normally I'd have a point right here in the middle. But since I've got this minus pi over 2, I need to play that into the situation. So minus pi over 2 is going to take my graph to the right, pi over 2. So I'm going to go to the right, pi over 2, and make a dot. Okay, I just went over and made a dot. Okay, that dot right there is at pi over 2. If that's my dot, the next two things I need to add are asymptotes. So on the right of that dot, I need to make an asymptote. Again, I'm looking at my scale to help me. The scale says that from the center over to the right, I'm going to go another half a pi. So I'm at half a pi, and I'm going to go over to the right half a pi. That means my asymptote line over here, that's an awful asymptote, but it's going to be labeled at pi. Okay, then I need to do the same thing to the left. If this asymptote line right here is at pi over 2, and I move to the left half a pi, it's going to take me all the way over to 0. So here's my line right in the center. It's at 0. Finally, I'm going to graph it. It's a tangent graph. So tangent graphs start low, and we get more tan as we go. There's my graph. Okay, tangent, and I've shifted to the right, pi over 2.